Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I am Jeremy.
I am Andy.
Andy, I was thinking about how we could maybe latch onto this trend that seems to be happening in movies nowadays where I could wait a good 10 minutes into our episode before actually giving the title introduction. You know, we could talk
Oh,
for
that would
10
be
minutes
cool.
and then I could say, Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast.
We would be so artistic if we did that.
Yep, and that is a trend I've seen more and more in movies, and this is a movie that definitely does it. I'm talking about the new horror movie from writer-director Chris Stuckmann called Shelby Oaks.
Yeah.
And I guess I will tell you what, before I really explain the reason behind that like late title card entry, let me just give a summary of the movie, and we'll jump into our thoughts about it.
Okay.
So this one a little trickier on how to break it down exactly, but we'll give it a shot. So Mia has never given up hope that her missing sister, the host of a ghost hunting web series whose four-person crew all disappears in Shelby Oaks, would be found again. And when a man shows up on her doorstep with a haunting revelation, Mia's search intensifies to find out exactly what happened. Andy, you're a horror movie guy. Was Shelby Oaks good?
I think it's really important before I say anything about this movie to say that no matter what I think about this movie, I think that this is a win for Chris Stuckmann. I mean, here's a dude that was a YouTuber and just a huge horror movie fan and had a dream to make a movie, and he did. So good for him.
All right, before you say your next thing, I want to piggyback on that because you're 100% right. And I was like, I need to say off the bat that I felt overly invested in this movie, like weirdly invested in this movie, because I've been a Chris Stuckmann guy. I've been watching his reviews for a long time on YouTube. You know, you could probably even say he's a little bit of an inspiration, him and among other people, to be like, hey, yeah, I could just get on here and do a podcast and talk about movies. And I think it probably affected my opinion of this movie, both positive and negative, and hopefully in a way that just sort of evened out. But I'll get into that more later. But yeah, I'll let you continue with your...
So good for him. I mean, kudos to him. I thought he did a really good job in the first 40 to 60% of this movie. I thought he had a good handle on how to develop, atmosphere and mood and creepiness. And, really all movies are just people taking what they like from other movies and applying it. So he took, a lot of Blair Witch and different things and applied it and really set the stage for some creepy stuff. Unfortunately, the last 30% of this movie was really, really bad, I thought. And really kind of the amateurness of it really shined through. This movie, more than anything, I think pointed out just how hard it is to make a great horror movie and how rare it is. Horror movies are, a lot of times, they're entertaining. I mean, Friday the 13th Part 4 is entertaining to me, but I'm not gonna make the argument that it's some kind of great movie. This movie just really went wrong when it tried to over-explain things. I thought it did a really good job when it was just the mystery and what happened to my sister. And I thought he did a lot of really cool things at the beginning, and then it just kind of fell apart at the end.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I maybe liked it a little more throughout than you did, but I would imagine maybe you liked the beginning more than I. Like I probably stayed a little more level, and you probably liked the beginning more and then came down.
I really liked the beginning.
Yeah. So I guess I'll explain a little bit for people who haven't seen it, because I have a feeling a lot of people have not seen Shelby Oaks. But it starts off about the first 15 minutes is like a found footage documentary piecing together, footage of people being interviewed and talking about this web series group, the paranormal paranoids, who they call themselves, and how they went missing and they're still wanted. And it's like at the 15-minute mark before it really shifts from this entirely found footage thing to like a regular style movie. And that's when we get the 15-minute end title card, Shelby Oaks. And you're like, oh, wow. Yep. I really had no idea what this movie was or what it was about. So like the first 15 minutes is like, oh, Chris Stuckmann just made a found footage horror movie. And then it changed. And I was like, oh, no, that was really all just backstory and build up. And that was kind of an interesting way to do that. And then we get the shift really to Mia, this main character, the sister of the main girl who went missing. And her trying to find her. I'm going to go ahead and throw on like a spoiler warning at the beginning here because this is a hard
This
movie to
is
talk about.
almost impossible to talk about this.
Yeah, so if you're like, I want to watch Shelby Oaks and not be surprised, I guess what we'll say is
Go
like,
watch it.
I think it's worth a watch. If for no other reason than it's an interesting study always to me of like someone who's trying to make a good story, knowing they're working within very limited parameters. This movie was largely crowdfunded. I think when Chris Stuckmann wrote it, he was like, I got to write a movie that assumes I'm going to have almost no budget. Yeah. And, you know, that's tricky. And so he actually crowdfunded really well. It was like the most successful movie crowdfunding campaign ever. Yeah. And so the movie looks better than he probably ever imagined he could get it to look. But
yeah, it looks really good.
I think he still probably wrote it and crafted all the ideas with the idea of, I'm going to have no budget. Anyways, that's what I'll say. It's worth watching for that. But the spoiler thing I was going to say is the movie really propels when this guy shows up on the main character's doorstep. She's being interviewed by a documentary crew, and this guy shows up and is like, she finally let me go, and shoots himself in the head right in front of her. And
dude, that was so... He did that really well, I thought. That was really shocking.
Yeah, it was. I was like, okay... Here we are. This is the movie we're in now. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And so this guy has a tape in his hand. And of course, she does the horror movie thing of she doesn't just tell the cops. Yeah, she takes it and she watches it. And the tape is incredibly informative if you're trying to crack the case. You know, all that it breaks down. I do think that, you know, another thing I'll throw out to Stuckmann is he's got really good patience. Part of that is sometimes in a horror movie, there's just a lot of time to pad. So, you know, like but, you know, he's just kind of like showing her going through the video. It doesn't quite rush to like, here, I just need to show you the thing that's happening. Like, there's a lot of just other footage, and, you know, she's kind of like enjoying just seeing her sister at first, and then it slowly builds to like, oh, here's the things that, oh my gosh, this is on tape. And, you know, it's going to help me propel me to try to find her now.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and say this. I was totally in this movie until she finds that old lady's house kind of behind the amusement park. So anything you're talking up to before that, I'm on board, man. I thought it was excellent. I just want to say too, like I feel like this dude has a really good understanding of like what makes a good horror movie, because like to me, a lot of times, it's not always the truth, but a lot of times good horror comes out of something that feels a little real to us, you know, and that's what makes it scary to us. And one thing I thought he did was so smart at the beginning, when it's really in the found footage mode, and it's like you learn that these people disappeared and stuff, and then it's showing like clips of other YouTubers and like social media, and people are commenting, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. And then he did the really smart thing where a lot of people were like, oh, this is crap, they're just doing this for views. And then there was the videos where it's like people were trying to analyze the tapes, and it was like, okay, what is she looking at in this tape? And really she was looking at nothing at that time. But it's like that feels like what you would see online when people post something about like an old unsolved murder or something. So all that stuff that rings a little bit true, even though it's in this far out movie, is really effective. And he does a really good job with that. So I just wanted to point that out. And so I'm not trying to be negative towards Stuckmann. Like, great job by him on that stuff.
Yeah. I think because I wanted Stuckmann to do a good job, and again, I felt weirdly like invested in this. Because of that, everything that happened in the movie, like every shot, every character decision, every line of dialogue, I found myself thinking like, okay, why did Chris do this? And I'm like, I don't watch any other movie that way. You know, most movies, if I just didn't know who this director was, I would just sort of absorb the story as it came. And yet I was sitting here going like, you know, he's doing this or that, or that's an interesting camera movement, or, oh, that's an interesting beat. And again, probably to my detriment sometimes, because it's like, dude, just shut up, you know, shut the voices in your head off and just enjoy it. But it also probably made me look for positives more than I normally would too, you know? So again, I hope in the end it kind of leveled out and I'm giving it a fair assessment.
No, I mean, that's what movies are. You watch them based on, you know, like I go into the Scorsese movies and stuff, you know, it's like you really have to convince me to not love this movie because I'm just preconditioned. Like I said, I'm rooting for Stuckmann. You know, like in the first 45 minutes, I was like, cool, he did it. Like, this is great creepiness. And And like I said, especially in horror, I don't mind when people kind of take the stuff that has worked and then reuse it for their own horror movie. Because like there's certain things that I'm just a sucker for. Like I always am a sucker for, the sister's watching or she's looking at old pictures, I think, and it's like, wait, what is this I just noticed in the background that nobody else has ever noticed? That stuff's always cool to me. I love people watching an old tape and trying to decipher clues. Side note, the main actress who plays the sister, Mia, it's Mia, right?
Yeah.
I thought she did a great job having to react to watching that film she stole from the guy who shot himself. Like, that's got to be hard to react to that stuff as an actor.
Yeah.
And she did a great job, I thought.
Can I just say there's one movie cliche in this that really bothers me, in this movie and any movie, and I don't know, I need to talk to like medical professionals, EMTs or something to see if this happens in real life. After the guy shoots himself, his blood splatters all over her. Mm-hmm. It is like that night, and she still has like his blood. And I'm like, that can't like in real life. Surely the first thing that someone does is go, oh, like I've got to wipe this off of me. And once you've been seen, especially like once the medical professional have been there and the cops, like surely somebody's like, hey, we need to get this blood off of you.
That's so funny you said that, because that was honestly a little distracting. It was like, man, her husband would be like, hey, you can watch this tape, but you've got to go take a shower first.
Yeah, that's super gross.
It was a little distracting.
Yeah.
It's very gross, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, also...
And I love... Oh, sorry. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
I love when horror movies kind of combine like the detective work. I always think that works. Like I love when she's talking to somebody. Oh, it's her husband. And she's just laying out like all these newspaper articles and all these drawings that she did and the drawing that her sister did. I love horror combined with like detective work. I mean, she's not a detective, but she's, kind of taking on the job. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff where I was like, man, I'm really into this movie because this is just kind of hitting all the things that I like.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to shout out the lead actress who plays Mia is played by Camille Sullivan. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I know her from the show Shoresy, which is a comedy that's on Hulu, and she plays the main character. Shoresy's like love interest. She's a reporter, and he's always hitting on her, and it's really funny.
See, I had no history with her.
But I also did read in the trivia. Here's my bit of trivia from this movie is that Chris Stuckmann reviewed a movie that she was in like 2020 and really praised her performance, and then here he is like
and he got to direct her in a movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job.
But I can hear praise band practice is happening. In the background.
It is. Sorry if that's a problem.
It really fits the tone of our Shelby Oaks discussion. So.
It does. It really does.
Anyways, I know that Stuckmann is a big fan of the movie Signs. I am too, but he's done like a big video breakdown of Signs and like, all the things that come together in that, why he loves it. And I found myself thinking about that a lot in this movie. And as it was nearing the end, I thought, I know what he's doing. This is his love of Signs influence. He's going to try to have everything tie in together and be like all the threads coming together. Yeah. And this is probably an example for me of like knowing what I know, making me enjoy something more than I should, because maybe it wasn't the greatest of tying things together, but I think just because I was waiting for it and I was like, it happened, I was like called that, it kind of actually made me enjoy it a little more.
Yeah. And that's just really where the movie turned on me, is when it's like I heard it from Roger Ebert. I think he was writing about Jaws once and why it's so scary. And he's like the noise that you hear is oftentimes way more scarier than what is making the noise. You hear a strange noise in your house and you're scared, and then you find out, oh, it's just my door creaking. Okay, it's not scary anymore. And I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I like movies that really go all out. I mean, The Exorcist is not a subtle movie. That's showing you a lot. Jaws even though they do hide the shark. This is just an example of, it's like the Blair Witch thing. It just really worked well for Blair Witch to not show anything up on the screen. Now, Blair Witch was a phenomenon. Phenomenons aren't often repeated. And this to me is like, okay, this is why in Blair Witch we don't need to see a witch or whatever. Because once you see everything that's happened in this movie, I hate to say it, but I really checked out.
Okay. All right.
I just did. Especially, I thought that last 2 or 3 minutes was really rough of this movie.
So, I'm kind of with you. I didn't enjoy the last few minutes, but I couldn't put my finger on why exactly. Because honestly, I didn't really have a problem with the way he was trying to tie the story together, or like the choices of story. It did feel a little cheesy, and I was like, is this just budget issue? Is it the acting issues? Is it like the, you know, the lack of effects? Something about it did feel a little like it felt like a cheesy 80s movie scene, almost like the things that we will jokingly, send Instagram reels of each other about, so I don't know, like sometimes it's just a reminder, it's a thin line between things like really working and not working, and what makes things work and not work. Sometimes it's as simple as like, maybe I read or I heard on a podcast recently. It was the Big Picture podcast. They're doing like the best 25 movies of the century so far, or something like that. Yeah. Which, by the way, their list total crap. Anyway,
yeah, it's insane.
But they did Mad Max Fury Road, and I was like, so I'm in on that one, and I listened to it.
I'm in on that one. Yeah.
They told the story about the guy who did the score for the movie, or the sound. It was just the sound for the movie. And when they did test screenings originally, like it didn't test very well, but he wasn't happy with the sound. He said, listen, just give me a little bit of time. I want to rework some of the sound stuff. Don't change anything else. And he does that. And the next test screenings,
through the roof,
they're a hit. And it's like, it's just a reminder of like how such small things that we don't even think about when we're watching can make things work or not work in a movie. And so when I watch an ending like that and I'm going, man, this scene just doesn't work, I'm going like, well, where's the blame? Could somebody have just done sound a little differently where it works? Or is it the lighting? Is it the acting? There's no way to know for sure. I mean, sometimes you know for sure. Sometimes Dakota Johnson's in your movie not trying. But, I don't know. I don't know what would have made it work.
And I don't either. And you're so right. But to me, a lot of it is this is always a big swing you're taking when you direct a horror movie, especially one that's built around mystery. And where did my sister go? Because like the chase or the pursuit is just usually more thrilling, exhilarating, suspenseful than the conclusion. It's like the idea of the girl who plays the missing sister. And I'm not saying she was good or bad in this movie. But it's like you having to just watch these old clips of her, or, seeing her like stare off into the distance in an old YouTube clip of their paranormal team scared is so much more effective than her just like dirty with bad teeth and bad hair because she's been kidnapped for 12 years. It's like once you've seen her and you understand you're like, oh, well, that's just not really suspenseful or thrilling like it is to see her like, oh my gosh, on this old YouTube video, she looks so scared. And then when you see her and she's just kind of laying comatose in that bed at the end of the movie with this baby, because we're well into spoilers, you're just like, the mystery is gone. The suspense is gone. The chase is gone. And so that's a big part of it to me, which really, like I said, is not an insult to Stuckmann or anybody in this movie. It's more of a, this is how hard it is to land a plane on a horror movie.
Yeah. I think I just appreciate his attempts to, like I said, to tie everything together. I appreciated that he did, that it didn't feel like at the last minute he was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if everything came together. He did leave the breadcrumbs throughout. The sister telling the story of her
felt like a cheat.
Seeing through the window, and like the way it ends up, the incubus, which is the villain of the movie. It's this incubus who kidnapped her and was using her for breeding, but then he shifts his attention to the sister, who he's also always had his eye on. That was planned in there. So I guess I appreciated, even if it didn't land, I was like, this was a well thought out thing. He didn't just, at the end go, well, what if we just do this?
I will completely agree with you on that. Nothing felt like a cheat, or nothing felt like, well, this really doesn't make sense for the rest of the story that I've told, but it'll get me a really good scare. Nothing felt like a cheat. I will give you that. One thing I think, talking about that ending, that really went wrong is I think, and this is only opinion. Let me say that. This is only my opinion. I think Stuckmann really thought those dogs were scarier or more effective in the movie than they actually are.
That
They
was
were
the
kind of
part.
distracting to me.
Yeah, that's the part that felt the
Yeah.
most like I'm watching one of those cheesy Instagram
Yes.
like movie
And then
clips.
ultimately what really didn't work more than anything for me was just that literally like that last minute and the what happens to the sister, like her falling out of that window, and then all of a sudden there's all these dogs are there to rip her to shreds. That felt really, really flat to me.
Yeah, it did to me as well.
So
Uh,
yeah.
my biggest beef, and this again happens a lot of times in movies, in horror movies, is once you find out where the sister was, which is in this old lady's
Thank you.
house,
I want to talk
right
about this.
behind the amusement park. You're like, people have been looking for her for 12 years,
For
and
12
like,
years, and the sister found her in 20 minutes.
and it's like, oh, she's right by where they disappeared.
Yeah, that was a big. We talked about that on the car ride home because I saw this with Molly and Ryan and one of Ryan's friends, and like on the way home, it was like they didn't really think that out extraordinarily well because it's just like, hey, this really creepy house in this really creepy area. Like, let's focus our search there. And then, like, doesn't the sister like literally just like move or the lady who lives there? She just moves a rug, and there's just this enormous like trap door. That was a little weak, and I hate to dog on my guy Chris Stuckmann, but that wasn't great.
No. But I do
Yeah.
think one of my favorite moments in the movies was with the old lady where they're sitting there making small talk and it's clearly like weird and uncomfortable at first.
Yeah,
And there's like a creak in the house and the main character Mia goes, "You live here alone?" And the old lady just goes like kind of pauses for a second, then goes, "Nope." And then just keeps talking about something else, and you're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah, that was good.
that's
No, there's
that's
this evil
unsettling."
demon that also lives here with me.
Yeah, I have this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't mind all that stuff either. I thought he did a good job of building the suspense, just of Mia and that lady in that house together talking. And I've said this a million times. I always appreciate when they write their horror movie characters to be intelligent. Now, I don't know how intelligent she is to go into this prison by herself in the middle of the night, but like when she is at the lady's house, like she grabs the knife. Like sometimes it's just those little details that help us stay invested instead of checking out going, well, this character's a moron, and whatever happens to her, she deserves.
Absolutely.
So I'm being critical of the ending, but I do think overall he did a good job constructing, a story, and he borrowed from the right things to make the story. And look, if this guy is a passionate horror movie fan, which he is, like, I hope he gets a chance to make another horror movie.
Yeah. I will be very curious to see if that is where he'd want to go next because I know he likes all kinds of movies. He likes, like I said,
movies.
Signs. He's a big fan of the movie Collateral. I know he really likes anime movies too, but which is where we differ most. But so yeah, I wonder, like, did he choose horror because that's really what he wanted, or because that's the easiest one to access because it is generally the cheapest? Yeah, and so like, would he be like, okay, I've done horror, now I want to try something else. Maybe I can get a little more budget and try a drama or something else. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
I would happily give him another shot at any kind of genre, but I would definitely like to see him get another crack at horror.
Yeah, I think if I had to compare this outing for him to something, I would compare it to season 1 of Parks and Rec, because just like you were saying, Parks and Rec in season 1 is notoriously like the weak season because it tries too hard to be The Office, but it also does like kind of plant all the seeds, and they're like finding their footing of what's going to work for them. And by season 2, they're like, okay, now we know how to be the awesome show that's us. That's our show. We're not The Office. We're not something else. And I could see Stuckmann kind of working through, like, I'm trying to be a lot of the things that I like, and now I know how to, like, be my thing. And second outing might be more like season 2 of Parks and Rec.
Well said. I'd love to see him get another shot. Also, just real quickly, I want to shout out Neon, which is the studio that distributed this movie. They know how to market. They did a really great job. They have those posters that are really creepy and really cool, and this movie had a cool marketing campaign. So just a quick shout out to Neon. They do good marketing. They did the same thing for Long Legs. Just unbelievable marketing.
Yeah, and it was very smart to be very like mystery oriented in the marketing, because honestly, this would be a hard movie to cut a trailer for if you were trying to actually like summarize the movie because of its unique
they were really
structure
smart to just lean into
yeah.
They were smart to lean into the missing sister thing.
For sure. All right. So overall, positive experience. Yeah, I want people to support it. It is not getting great reception from the critics. It's a 56% from critics, 55% from audiences. I think probably just a lot of the same things that we're saying is probably the same things the critics are thinking, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm. I believe so, yeah. And it's I think it's made like $4 million, $3.5–4 million. Like, it's never. Of course, movies like this are not designed to become like big blockbusters. I mean, I said it again, I said it before, I'll say it again. That's why Blair Witch is such a phenomenon. You know.
Yeah.
This is not that, but it's not any kind of embarrassment for him. It'll probably make a few bucks for Neon and everything. So I'm probably not as negative about this movie as I'm sounding like I am.
So I mean, we do this. Like, sometimes we like movies and then we're just critical of them. Sometimes we don't like movies and then we end up sounding like we're saying nice things about them the whole time. So
right, and I love horror. You know, I love horror movies, and a lot of times you're passionate and opinionated about the things that you care about. So.
Yes, absolutely. And in that, on that note, before we go, I do just want to talk to you a little bit about, you went and saw a horror movie classic in theaters this weekend.
I sure did.
Wasn't available to me, which I was really disappointed about, because frankly,
I was really disappointed.
This weekend's slate of movies, really disappointing. So
really bad.
I would have loved to have had the opportunity you did, which was to go see Halloween in the theater. So Andy, please tell me all about it.
Well, once again, just an enormous shout out to Flashback Cinema, which has now allowed me to see Halloween, Alien, The Godfather, Goodfellas, Terminator 2, Jaws, Back to the Future. I mean, just what a treat that is. Boy, it's fun to go back and watch these movies that have these reputations as all-time classics and be reminded why they have that reputation as an all-time classic. It's really rewarding. It wasn't that I was doubtful, but you go watch it and you're like, this is unbelievable. This is amazing, and it's fun to watch these movies where just everything falls perfectly into place. You know, this was this teeny tiny budgeted movie that was meant to just basically be an exploitation movie, like a slasher movie, and it just so happens they hired John Carpenter, who turns out to be a really talented guy, and also composed, you know, you could probably argue one of the most iconic scores in horror movie history, and just so happened they hired Jamie Lee Curtis to be the star, and she... You know, that was her first movie, and she ends up being a big deal. And it just so happens that they picked up this William Shatner mask and kind of restructured it to be this Michael Myers mask, and we're still using it 48 years later. And it's just fun to watch, you know, a movie when you can look back, man, everything just worked out perfectly for this movie. And it's amazing, and it's scary, and it's suspenseful, and it does so much with so little, and it does the thing we love when less is more. And you know, people think of the Halloween franchise and it's like, oh, Michael Myers cutting someone's head off, and Halloween has basically no blood in it. It has no, what I would call, like, gratuitous violence. You don't see a knife like go in somebody's eye and out the side of their head. All the killings are done usually in the dark and, you know, with limited lighting, and so they just really maximize everything. And it's a lean, like, 90-minute movie, but yet it's also a patient movie. Like, you spend a lot of time with these three central teenage girls, the three babysitters of the evening, before they start getting killed, and that's really impressive. And it was, as you can probably tell by my rambling, it was just a real delight to get to see it in the theater. And I just want to say quickly, you know, talking about Shelby Oaks not landing the plane, just an all-time great final 10 minutes of a movie. And that's where the movie is patient and considered, and then that really pays off in the last 10 minutes when it's just an all-out Michael Myers chasing Laurie. And then the last 1 minute, 30 seconds of the movie is just an all-time great moment in movies where they shoot Michael Myers and he falls off the balcony, and then Dr. Loomis goes and looks and he's gone, and then we just get the iconic score. We get the camera showing us all the locations we've been throughout the movie, ending on the Myers house, Michael Myers heavy breathing, movie over. It's really impressive. It's really awesome.
It's so just fun to listen to you talk about it. And you're right. Like, Halloween is such a great example of minimalism in a movie that,
Minimalism.
just what you're saying, not knowing is always scarier and more interesting. Like, we really know next to nothing about Michael Myers. There's no like explaining his backstory in the first one. It's just this dude shows up, he's scary, he's emotionless, he stalks you.
Yeah.
The end. That's all you get.
The end. Yep. You give us some teenagers in peril. You get Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis, who's just one of the all-time great movie characters. He just is there to basically deliver exposition, but it's Donald Pleasance doing it, and it's just really well done. And yeah, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed you didn't have it available to you, and we could have done a whole episode about it.
I know. I always want to ask this with these flashback cinema movies: is just what was the crowd like in the theater? Just as far as like age, was it mostly older people who would have that memory of seeing it back in the day, or was there a decent amount of young people trying to come experience this movie?
So it was a little bit of both. There were definitely people like my age who you could tell it was like these are just lifelong fans, but there was definitely some younger people. I saw it with Molly, so she was probably the youngest person in there. There was a few other people probably roughly around her age. We did see it on Halloween, which was really cool, but we had to see the 4:30 show. So I didn't get it, wasn't there for the set. There was also a 7 and a 9:30. I hope those were a little bit better attended. I would say there was maybe like 12, 13 people in our theater. But it was kind of just that combination of like people my age who probably grew up watching it, or people maybe that had just heard about it and stuff. So it is a good mixture.
Yeah. I just want to complain about my AMC for a second because they didn't put Halloween in their theater this past weekend, but they did do like every night we're going to show a different installment of the Twilight franchise for like a week, which is so ridiculous.
That's an insult.
They put it out at like, what was it, like Paranorman or something re-release. It was just like,
what in the world?
Why are you releasing these movies that really put Halloween in the theater for Halloween? Do it right.
Why don't these movies grab these theaters, why don't they grab the low-hanging fruit? Like, it should just be a no-brainer that every year on Halloween is playing.
It's exactly right. The last thing I want to say about it is just that Friday night at Grace's football game, the school I work at, Grace Academy, it was senior night, and they were having a hard time getting volunteers because it was Halloween. And so my friend does the announcing for the game, and he asked me if I would run the scoreboard next to him. And I was like, sure. So we were in this like little scissor lift up behind the bleachers watching the game, and when it was time for the captain's meeting, he's also running the music and the songs through the speakers for everything. And when the captains start walking out, he starts playing the Halloween theme. And
awesome.
I was like, perfect, but I'm scanning the crowd for like, people, do you get it? Do you get what's happening right now? And like, no one's reacting. And I'm like, shame on all you people. This is brilliant.
It's brilliant. And same thing, like just making the most out of a little. It's just a few simple notes on a piano. It's crazy. It's such a treat to go back and watch that stuff. And a movie from the 70s, which, my stance on that is the 70s is the greatest decade ever for movies. So,
yeah.
A real treat.
Andy, next week we've got Predator Badlands.
Yeah, really excited about that.
Which is a movie that I think kind of slowly won us over as far as our interest. At first when we saw previews, we're like, oh, a movie about a predator as the main character on a foreign island or foreign plane, I don't know. But then we just liked this guy who's making it so much that we're like, all right, I trust him. Let's see what you got.
Me too. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one, especially again. Yesterday I was like, maybe I'll go to the theater and do one of those like triple feature type days. And I looked at the slate of movies that were showing, and I was like, first off, there aren't a lot of new movies. There's nothing new and interesting to me. I've seen everything that was there already, and I was like, I guess I won't go to the movies. So, really
rough.
A weekend where I don't go to the movies is like a bummer of a weekend to me.
It's a real bummer. I think I'm going to be able to squeeze in Begonia this week too.
Okay, well, I guess to be fair, that is out, and I could have gone to see it. I was just so afraid that I'd be sitting through another Kinds of Kindness, and I was like,
I'm very nervous.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to check that out too, but
yeah, I'm a little nervous. I will say, positive note, it's under 2 hours. So that's right there.
Thank goodness, because Kinds of Kindness, we talked about it, was the longest 3-hour movie. It was like a 10-hour experience in a 3-hour movie.
I'm pretty sure Kinds of Kindness is still playing right now. It's just like it's so long. Yeah, this is like an hour and 58 or 59 minutes. So that right off the bat is something.
Much
But yes,
improved. Yeah.
I'm going to see it. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess maybe would be the right word. We'll see.
Yeah. But Predator Badlands. More excited for
Predator
that one.
Badlands.
Yeah.
Way excited for that one.
Exactly. All right, Andy. It was really good to get to do an episode again. We were like a week off, but it was totally unintentional. But sometimes that happens. But, we don't intend to be missing any more. We should have a more normal routine. And,
we may even, before 2025 is over, we may even be face to face again.
We may indeed.
Just a little teaser for later on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this discussion of Shelby Oaks and then Halloween and what we're looking forward to next week. And
absolutely.
We will see you guys next time.
See you next time.